What's up, guys? Welcome back to The Poor Investor. Remember to hit that like, comment, and subscribe because I'm going to be bringing you some great content going forward. I actually have an interview today with the OG plotter himself. Stay with me on that one because we're going to go into some details of how fast he can actually plot all these different things on MMX and what is the benefit of all that, plotting fast, reducing the size of the plots, and I'm going to go over some of the details of what we're going to be talking about today because there is a whole diagram or instructions on the amount of hardware that's required to actually get this up and running efficiently. Based on what you choose or what you have, you can farm MMX coins. So let's dive deeper into that. Now, I have to remind you that Chia and the MMX coin have no association. And what's more interesting enough is that this morning I decided, hey, let me just hit up Mad Max because he's been on this channel before. I probably did a video or two if I can remember correctly. It's been a while, so my old age is kicking in. I can't really remember how many times I spoke to him, but ever so often we speak. And I asked him a quick question. I was like, is Chia even entertaining the idea of having GPU farm or plotting? And he says, I don't follow them, so I don't know. So that's where it all begins. He doesn't follow them. He's doing his own thing. Remember that, guys. MMX totally separate from Chia. So let's dive deeper into what I'm talking about. But before we get into this is the GIGAHORSE. That's what MMX is doing. But guys, check this out. Price is dropping back. I put on my community post. I was like, will this hit $40? And let me just bring up that poll really quick. Community post, $40 XCH, 219 votes. 71% said yes out of 219 votes. No's and hell no's are obviously the same. It's just that one is more angrier of like, hell no. Like, that's not going to happen. Price of XCH, $34.31. Net space. All right, let's check the last 2 days first. Net space. Wow. Look at that. Minus 164 PIBs. Let's check 30 days. I like to usually trend 30 days because, you know, that makes it easier. Like, you know, 30 days, 1 month, 2 months, and then before you know it, it's like a whole year. Total of the entire last 30 days, negative 211 PIBs. Are you guys still like growing your farms or what? It doesn't seem like it. People are shutting down more than anything else, but I do have a surprise lined up for you guys coming up in a future video on what I bought. 120 nodes, 120,000 nodes, 530. Node counts, okay, decent enough. Let's go on. Wow, look at this. China, United States, top contenders. Where are we with versions? I am still on version 1.6 right here. 1.61 has been out. 1.62 is actually the latest and greatest. You guys see right here. People are transitioning over. I eventually will go over. I have a couple of questions that came in regards to people who are still sitting at 1.4. They updated the database, but they're scared to even jump this ridiculous amount. Do they go to each version first or do they just jump straight ahead? That's a tough call. What would I do? I would probably, because I haven't heard that, you know, there's a reason not being able to jump from 1.4 to 1.6 or 6.2, whatever. I think that's fine. If you're really worried about jumping significant versions, like from 1.4 to 1.6, do this. Go to like 1.4 and then go to like 1.5 and then 1.5 go to 1.6. And that's like two different installs. I don't think that's a bad approach because if you were to update each version as it came out, you would have done the same anyway. I'm not saying to install each one independently up until you get to the latest version, because look what happens if you were like at 1.21. You'd be sitting there all day trying to install the versions, going at major versions. You know, like the version number changes. So that's that. There was a reason why Chia has been going up because everything else was going up. Everything is green. Bitcoin apparently is still in the 20,000 range. So Chia, if I could find it, there it goes again. Constantly lose this whole Chia thing. Where the hell is it? Right here, Chia. For the week, up 14.5%, rank 145. All right, guys. I thought I was looking at the Facebook Chia forum about this particular article, but it wasn't. It was actually on the GIGAHORSE, on the Chia forum itself. So I want to go through here a couple things really briefly about the details, the hardware, the RAM requirements, the GPU size or model, and it only works on NVIDIA right now. So remember that. And it only works on Linux. The Windows and AMD has not been in play on this right now, but Mad Max has been constantly developing on this, pushing it harder and harder. And there's a whole bunch of guys who are actually, contributing to utilizing their hardware to test this right now. Play at your own risk. This is MMX. Nothing to do with Chia. It has nothing to do with the Chia farming. Has nothing to do with Chia plots. Whether Chia or this tool can utilize on the Chia side, meaning using GPUs to plot, GPUs to farm, that's a whole different discussion. That may or may not happen. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Chia said that they were going to have a discussion about that. Obviously, a lot of people have GPUs. Otherwise, you wouldn't be looking at a screen. More than likely, if you're in the tech world, you're not utilizing an onboard video. That's just my opinion. So, GIGAHORSE is a Mad Max Chia plotter for NVIDIA GPUs, which create compressed K32 plots fully in RAM with 256 gigs recommended. Now that's recommended. Or partially with 128 gig, one or more M.2 SSDs. Those are NVMe at level 9. I'm not too familiar with the level 9s, but the levels increase, the higher and the lower is we'll get a better understanding as we're going on. Level 9 at K32 plot is reduced to 68.9 gigs, unlike the Chia plot where it's like over 100 gigs. A huge difference here, leading to a 47.2 increase in revenue per plot. A 3000 series NVIDIA GPU is recommended, although GIGAHORSE may work on older models. 3000 series, 3090, 3080, 3070, 3060s, TIs, non-TIs, whatever it is. They're saying most efficient 3000 because that's the most common one right now. That's what most people have right now. Not everyone went out to go buy a 4080 or 4090. Max has mentioned adding in AMD support, but has stated that it will be worse. I mean, AMD cards are not horrible. I'm saying not everything utilizes AMD. For instance, OBS, what I'm using to record on right now, has a better efficiency with NVIDIA GPUs, and they don't support the same functionality in AMD cards. I don't know why. That is the case. An optimized setup with the best hardware will be able to plot under 120 seconds. That is insane. That is insane. So if I went out to go buy a 10 terabyte, 10 or 20 terabyte drive, it'll be filled in a matter of an hour. Probably. Level 7 and 8 may be the most used, as level 9 use a lot of GPU power for a 6.6 improvement. I suggest calling these MC plots, aka max compressed. And here, this is the explanation of the levels. And this is where the level 9 comes into play. I guess the most common will be the level 7 and 8 will be most used. See, level 7 and 8 most used because of amount of RAM that you have and the type of GPU that you have. And obviously the efficiency is a little lower than this. I'm trying to get a better understanding of it. Mind you, I'm still figuring it out. And they're basing this chart off of a 3060. Max created a GPU farm for those plots to allow for farming higher levels in mass. I don't believe he has named it yet, possibly the Thunderdome. Don't know what that means. You can farm these on a CPU, but the burden on the CPU gets too high around level 3 or 4 if you have lots of plots. My guess is that the Pi could probably handle a level 4 with 100 to 200 TIBs of plots, but that will have to be tested. Max also created a plot sync tool for distribution plots over your network. Wow, plot sync tool for distributions plots over your network. That's almost sounds like a BitTorrent to yourself, breaking up plots and then sending it on to another drive so there's more efficiency. So if you're copying a file, right, copying a plot over to another destination on a drive and something happens, then you gotta start all over again. Don't ever move plots, guys. Copy, don't ever move. I know you may not have the space to accommodate it, but safer that way in case something really does happen and you lose that plot. Let's see what else is going on over here. These plots have been working on FlexBlue since September, so we will definitely be among the first to support them. If you're not on FlexBlue already, you want to be among the first. Suggest moving a 0.7%. We have lowest pool fees on the top 5. Now guys, I'm not going to go into every little details here. Hardware requirement, operating system, Linux. I said it, Linux only, no Windows support right now. 4 cores or better minimum. Most plotting is done by GPU, so CPU requirements are minimal. PCIe 4.0 compatible CPU with 8 cores is recommended. You see all these recommended? 3060 Ti recommended. 256 gigs of RAM recommended. Now I'm going to be really honest with you. 3060 Ti for most of you are probably more reasonable, not just because you're using it to farm or make these plots. It's that, 3060 Ti is really budget friendly if you're a geek, all right? Because if I told my wife that, I'm going to spend $500-600 on a GPU, she'll freaking flip out on me. But anyway, 3060 Ti is not too bad as a recommendation, but 256 gigs of RAM? My goodness. I don't know any gaming PC would have that much RAM, or any workstation that you utilize at home would have that much RAM, unless you have a home lab and you happen to have that much RAM in there because you didn't pay for it. That's a whole nother story. My goodness, the amount of hardware or the amount of RAM that's required to be the most recommended and efficient is probably way out of a lot of people's budget. Just so you understand that. Right here is hard drive 1, but there are alternatives. You can offset that by having a 512 gig SSD card or SSD hard drive. Recommended if using 256 gig of RAM. Oh, sorry. This is the recommendation for the 256 gigs of RAM. Now, if you don't have that, minimum of using 128 gig of RAM, 2 or more 512 gigabyte PCIe 4.0 SSDs recommended. Faster is better, obviously. Hard drives, 1 or more transfer plots to minimum, multiple drives in RAID 0 or the network via plot sync. Now, here is the conclusion to all this. All right, I read all this so you didn't have to, but I will post this in the description below so you can understand it. They're asking for dev fees. This is going to be a closed application, not open source. So there's a lot of contradiction on what's being centralized and what's not, what's decentralized. All right, so dev fee is one. He's not asking for a hell of a whole lot, but he's spending a lot of his time and effort on this. So he's doing something, and hopefully there's an incentive for him to continue on. Mind you, Mad Max has brought us fast plotting speeds on the Chia side. You can't look at him and say, he has his own coin now. He's doing his own thing. But the technology that he's building it on, whether it's MMX, can, I'm not going to say will, it can potentially be inherited into Chia to do the same. So the more you support him, the more you bring into light the situation where you do want GPUs in this whole Chia ecosystem. Chia would look at it and say, okay, we have to do something about this because more and more people are asking about it. Like wondering how come MMX coin, which is kind of based off time and space, can do it. How come Chia can't, right? So anyway, that's the current situation right now. I do have more coming up on this because it's interesting to me. I'm so excited to see what happens with MMX when he fully launches and gets himself off testnet. Only time can tell, guys. I want to thank you guys for always being here. Please remember to hit that like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again soon.